We're here in the streets of Brooklyn, New York to talk about the disaster in the Pacific that just happened this past Friday, March 11th.
What do you think about the disaster?
I mean, what does anyone think about a disaster? It's terrible. It's a terrible thing to happen.
Do you know anything about the either the tsunami or the two nuclear reactors that might be going meltdown?
Yeah, I see the news on the CNN and I feel really bad about.
I think it's a tragedy, and my hearts and prayers goes out to everyone that was involved.
I've read briefly about it in the beginning of this weekend. I haven't read about it recently.
Have you heard about it on the news at all?
Of course, yeah.
What do you think about it?
I think that's sad, and I was really thinking of all my friends in Japan and connected with them to make sure everybody was fine.
Have you been keeping up with what's going on in the Pacific with the earthquake and the tsunami?
Somewhat.
Have you heard about the two nuclear reactors that might be going meltdown right now?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're going to go meltdown?
I have no idea, but it's scary.
They're pretty good with safety, so I assume they'll get it under control.
Yeah. So you think it's still under control right now?
I think so.
I heard that's probably not going to happen because it was sort of like they like let loose the vapors or whatever, and so it's not going to actually happen.
I'm not a technician. I hope not.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually talk that it might affect the west coast of America because of the jet stream if they do go meltdown.
I didn't know that.
Do you think it's going to happen or they have it under control?
I think it's under control from what I've read. They put down one of the reactors with salt water, so that's good.
Are you worried for like the west coast if it does happen?
Sure.
I think that's sad. I mean, same thing. I think that's a big potential issue because there's parts of the nuclear reactor, like the area where it is, that is distracted, and so there's been some explosion as well. So hopefully that's not going to be too much. I mean, from what I read, they evacuated all the people around the area, but still, potentially it might explode further.
You think that they are going to melt down?
I'm not close enough to it. I mean, I think it just underscores how risky nuclear energy is. And it's just, I think it just shows how much we take for granted the costs of the energy that we're using and all of these problems with our energy addiction.
So you don't think it'll reach the west coast of the U.S.?
No, I do not.
Do you think that it might affect the west coast of America if it does because of the jet stream carrying over the radioactivity?
Yes.
That'd be pretty devastating.
I think that's doubtful, but I mean that's more like if you think about what happened in Chernobyl, for instance, in Europe, or I mean it did reach through the continent, but I mean since Japan you have all the ocean in between, I mean that probably will affect the wildlife in the ocean, but I think that's doubtful that it would go all the way to the west coast.
Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers go out to the people of Japan and their families around the world. Please spare a moment of your thoughts for them as they attempt to cope and recover from this unthinkable tragedy.